We got some Nintendo Switch news. So apparently Nintendo bricks a Switch 2 user for backing up his own games. It finally happened. All right, let's take a look at it, shall we? Let's see what the hubbub is about, shall we? Apparently it's called Fritanga Plays.
Banned. Gone. Forever.
I can't celebrate nothing, can I? Just when I thought that the mix switch was the... Sorry, the husky has no manners. He just wants me to remind you guys that we are on our road to 100K subs for that grand face reveal with the silver play button in my hands in front of a Home Depot. Yes, with all the Mexican garbs you asked for. Thank you for reminding us, Husky. Now, if you don't mind, as I was saying, just as I was taking too early of a celebratory lap, thinking that the mix switch was untouchable and Nintendo couldn't brick your system just for using it, I was wrong.
Damn.
Today we have the first, and I mean, not clickbait induced, but actually legitimately first case of a Nintendo Switch 2 being bricked by the company.
Oh shit, has it started already? Oh man, dude, I guess I must have missed it, you know?
And, well, here it is. My Switch 2 test has been banned after using the MIG switch with perfectly legal dumps of my own cartridges, so it would seem that Nintendo can detect something. Similar reports on Reddit are starting to come in. I strongly recommend that you do not use the MIG switch. It was already very risky to use, but it is even more so.
Oh, Review Tech USA. I haven't heard that guy in a long time.
Stop! Thus begins the age of Frit tomorrow, where everything I report on ages poorly in a span of 24 hours. I don't want to be Review Frit USA. Please don't let this happen to me.
That's what we've been waiting for!
As I say that right now, I can already see my channel artist having a light bulb blink right above his head with an idea, but you know what? You're not gonna draw anything, Monty. You wanna know why? Because you're Puerto Rican. And any minute now, that light bulb's about to lose electricity. In 3, 2, 1, oh, would you look at that? Out of power again. Uh-oh. Oh, gee, Frit, that was kind of messed up. Excuse me? It's the audience who constantly bashes me for being Mexican 24/7 and wants me to stereotype myself for 100K subs. Are they really about to... You know what? We'll talk about it later.
It's called the double standard. Frit, we don't knock it. We got the long end of the stick on that one.
Let's focus on the MIG switch situation, or as Moist Critical would say, the MIG switch situation. On Friday, the MIG switch received update 1.20, which allowed it to be functional with Switch 1 games on the Switch 2. And as we saw in my previous video, the Russian hackers who made it were able to showcase that it works, as far as inserting and seeing the game start. It didn't take long for the snitches to have Nintendo take notice though, because this seems to be the first actual reported case of this that I've seen that's legit, and not from that random post online that we saw a couple of days ago.
Damn.
As you can see here, it reads error code 2124-4508. The use of online services on this console is currently restricted by
Thank you for the follow.
Nintendo.
Welcome.
Banned. Gone. Forever.
That's what you fucking get. How dare you? Who the hell do you think you are, unofficially trying to back up your own games? Physically, you get what you deserve. Well, that's what a Nintendo fanboy would say, and that is what they're saying. But this isn't.
So you're telling me that someone actually snitched or so, or someone like were reposting it and announcing to Nintendo? They'd be like, "Hey, they're doing the thingy. They're doing the thingy. Nintendo, go get them." That's crazy to hear that actually.
Saying,
If that's actually
just
true,
when
that's
we
pretty
thought
funny.
Nintendo was going to tolerate the MIG switch. They are strict on that. They will not even allow you to physically back up your own games however you want to, because that is what the MIG switch is initially for. Yes, people can use and abuse it, but that's not why it was created. It was created to allow people to back up their physical games and access them from one point, and Nintendo won't even allow that because
Yeah, that makes sense. But like also at the same time, you know, the problem is like it can be abused as well. So that's the only reason why.
interferes with their online service where they want you to pay. Those are Russian motherfuckers. Trying to cut
I don't know why you're talking about
profits.
PlayStation when we're not
I'll
talking about
show them.
PlayStation right
I'll
now.
show them all. Seems Nintendo was dead serious on ensuring people just can't have their way with their own Switch 2 that they bought. They will digitally shun you. Yes, that is basically what it is. They shun you from the online services. So, attempting to do things the way you want will result in this. Suck my dick, Nintendo. I'm gonna go buy a MIG Switch. Think again, a bitch. Oh, great. My Switch 2 is bricked. Lovely. Thanks, Nintendo. Thanks for punishing me for not breaking the law. It's also worth noting that those 2 Reddit posts he linked to have been removed or deleted from whatever page they were on. So we can't look at those and see what else is going on.
This is the reason why if you're gonna do some of these things, you have to do it like very obscure, you know? I remember back in the old days or so, like when you learned like an exploit or something crazy or so, you wouldn't post it on the internet. You kind of would share it to your friend group or something like that, right? This was back then, right? So like not a lot of things were like patched out or anything was like super crazy. But now these days, like everyone just wants to post it, you know? And now, you know, the companies will always watch, you know, the Nintendo ninjas will watch and then they'll, you know, strike them down.
Strange because this doesn't really line up with what the Russian hackers were showing us just a couple of days ago, but that error code is legit. The man has officially had his Nintendo account banned. The question here, however, is did he use the MIG Switch while it was online? Because that would only further increase your chances of getting banned from Nintendo. The thing is, if you're getting banned for piracy, that's understandable, but Nintendo can't determine what you're using your MIG Switch for, because it can just be used solely to back up your games.
Yeah, but the problem is, it's like, you know, at the same time, they can't detect if it's, you know, if they're also doing piracy either, you know?
Can use it for piracy. Nintendo has no way of knowing what you're doing with it. They just view it as a security measurement and will ban you outright no matter what.
Yeah.
Intent doesn't matter to Nintendo. You using it in the first place does. They don't want you physically backing up your games in a digital format and being able to access them all from one place. They want you to buy a bunch of blank Nintendo Switch carts that pretend they are actual physical copies. That's what they want you to do. It's insulting to me personally as a consumer. Well, I'm not a consumer of Nintendo actually, so I don't know why I would be offended. I guess it offends me as a general consumer that any company would be like, hey, remember when we sold you this game last gen physically for you to own? Yeah, here it is again. But this time it's not actually on the cart. There's just an empty cart. Well, screw that. I'm just gonna go back up my Switch 1 version. Banned, 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 banned. Gone. Forever. Get the fuck out of my eShop. To me, it's nuts that you can be outright banned for just trying to preserve video games. Yeah, you know, Nintendo is highly against that. They don't want you to preserve games because their bets are on a future where you don't own anything at all. I mean, every single gaming company wants that to be the future. They're hoping one day to cut
Ubisoft is like that, but I think Nintendo started to learn from Ubisoft.
Cut out retailers and cut out used games and trade-ins. They want to be the only source where you buy stuff digitally. And it just so happens to coincide during a time where they're jacking up prices, cutting out the middleman that cost them money and then raising the prices to rake in astronomical profits. They are actively trying to secure their future. And I'm just one of those people that believes, you know, the day physical media goes away, what the hell would be the point in console gaming? Because that is like the only purpose it serves, in my opinion. Physical media is the only reason to have a console. Because in this digital day and age,
it's not backwards compatibility on the PS5.
They don't even let you actually own the digital games anymore. Remember when they once sold you all those Nintendo classics and then they did away with the virtual console and now you're forced to play them through a subscription service where you'll never get to own them? But people who make backups of those classics on physical carts can store them on a MIG Switch, and Nintendo knows they can do that, and that's why they don't want you to have it. That's why they want to ban it. Even then, you can't trust Nintendo to digitally sell you something because you never know if they're only going to do it for a limited time, like they did with Mario 3D All-Stars, where they included Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy for a limited time on their eShop. You can't trust this company. It's why hackers come up with alternatives, because Nintendo's services are unreliable. And Nintendo fanboys support that. They defend it. They outright ensure Nintendo's policy is enforced, and they enforce it themselves, no matter how
It's crazy how like some people still like love their plastic box, you know? Like they still want to defend the shit out of it. I'm like, what is this? Is this like 2008 or something like that? Like, are we having this stupid debate or so about your stupid plastic box or so? God, I can never understand console people. And it's funny because I played console too as well. I played console for like a good chunk of my life, but I can never understand the whole like console war thing. You know, I always thought it was cringe.
Scrawny, weak, and pathetic they look. They will stand in between you and your rights as a consumer. And I'm not even kidding you. Here are some examples. As there was
It's
plenty of
complicated, it's
Nintendo
retarded, is what I have to
fanboys,
say.
per usual, in the replies.
You are allowed to have legal dumps of your own games, I agree. But you're not allowed to insert any device on the Switch 2 that is not allowed by Nintendo. Mixed Switch is one of these. Let's hope they also don't stop your Switch from updating. That would be a fatal hit.
Dude, you're a fucking cuck.
Gee, well, with rules like that, that means Nintendo can ban me if I decide to insert my fucking cock into the Switch 2. What? Will I be banned if I use the Steam Deck charger instead of the Switch 2 charger? Fuck Nintendo and their nebulous ass terms. It's like, damn, I can't use this device to play the Switch games I already own and paid for, and then I can't go and dump them on my PC and play them through Yuzu either. God damn, I'm allowed to do everything to dump these, but you're not allowed to play them on anything else or use an
Yeah, if you like physically own them and everything like that, like they're in your hands, they're your possession. You bought it from somebody, they're yours, you know? Like they are selling you a product, and then, you know, you buy it from them, that legally is yours. You can do whatever you want with it. I just don't understand, you know, the reason why they don't want people to do whatever they want with their consoles or their games, you know, their physical games, you know. I can never understand. Like, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know why.
external device. You have to play it strictly through the Switch 2 exactly as Nintendo says. Even though you already paid them over $400 fucking for the thing. Can't use it as you want. Otherwise, they will brick your online features that you paid full money for. This is why I say fuck Nintendo. I know mixed Switch users will try to have backed physical carts that have a bunch of Nintendo classics dumped onto them because they want you to sub to Nintendo Online instead with their limited library and pay them money for things you've already paid them money for in the past. That is why they will indiscriminately ban you. The potential to cut into their profits is the reason alone, and not because of other players' safety or whatnot, which is what their PR team will always tell you. LMAO! Pirates are fuming right now! Do these guys even realize that this isn't piracy? This guy is dumping legally purchased copies of his own Switch games onto the MiG Switch. This is not piracy, this is the complete opposite. This is getting the most out of his physical purchase legally. And he's being punished for it. Even if it was piracy, who gives a fuck? Nintendo guys do, obviously, though. Like, I guess Nintendo just doesn't make enough money for them. They want Nintendo to be as rich as possible. They want every nickel and dime accounted for. Nintendo guys don't even understand what piracy actually is. They accuse every single person emulating of it. Even then, like I said, why would they care? Why does it matter? They act like Nintendo is starving for money, like Nintendo didn't sell enough Switch 2s, like they don't sell enough games, like the company is hurting or something, when they're clearly not. What makes even less sense is the celebration. One person trying to use the MiG Switch getting banned from Nintendo Online is like celebrating one dude on the corner of a random street in New York selling crack being busted when the cartel is still running free. Nintendo guys can't secure a W over piracy, but they're going to try to anyway. A lot of people are saying, well, so what? You didn't really have your system bricked. It was just banned from using Nintendo's online services. Well, this means that your Nintendo Switch 2 is now useless when it comes to playing half the library of available Switch 2 games. Why is that? Because a huge portion of them are game key cards, which require the internet to download the full game, which means that if
Oh, right. That's actually very true, actually. Because like now all of the, I assume all the first party of Nintendo games will have this, like, you know, you have to download the games itself. But since you're kicked out of the Nintendo ecosystem, right? Are you even able to download those games? I don't think you can.
you go out and buy these, you will not be able to play them at all on your Switch 2. If you have a bricked Switch 2, theoretically, you will not be able to play a huge chunk of third-party games on it right now. And all because you try to back up your own games. These guys legitimately celebrate Nintendo taking the most strict measures to protect nobody except themselves. And I don't know why you would care about Nintendo protecting themselves unless you and Nintendo are one and the same. Like the Father and the Son, and the Holy Ghost is Iwata's spirit. I don't know how Nintendo's done it, but they've figured out a way to tell if you're playing their games that you already purchased and own via the MIG Switch. And I'm not sure if that's because it detects 2 copies of the same game. I'm also not sure if this was detected offline or online. That's not been made clear. One thing that I do know for sure, though, is it's not going to take long for a workaround. Because as much as everybody complains how Nintendo's always so far behind everybody else in technology and software, that's actually inherently a good thing, because it's why Nintendo systems are the most hackable and the easiest shit to emulate, because they are so ancient and behind the times. So it won't be much before somebody figures out what's causing it and how to work around that. But there we go, it's official. And not just some random story that we saw on a random website from a user.
I don't know. I don't
Hamburger
think.
foul me cat stare.
I don't think.
Foul me cat stare. Foul me cat stare.
I don't think you'll be able to play them or so because you can't update them.
Who won't clarify? This is
Because
the
you're not
first
connected to the
example
Nintendo-
of the MIG
Nintendo
Switch
online
causing
servers.
somebody to be banned on the Switch 2. And this can happen to you. For some, it's a ticking time bomb. For me, it's content. And if you want to watch more of it, then like, comment, share, and subscribe. And with that being said, I will see you in the next update.
That was a pretty interesting video, to be honest. Not bad, not bad. You know, yeah, but at the same time, you know, it's already began. They started bricking. You know, they started bricking. Jeez, that's scary. Hey, man, you bought it. You guys bought it, so you guys have to suffer the consequences for it. So yeah, you can't have fun on your console. So you're not allowed to have fun. Nintendo does not allow it. So it's pretty funny, to be honest. That's why, for me, I'm not buying a Switch 2. Why would I want to buy a Switch 2? You know? Like, I got my sister's Pokemon game, and I managed to transfer it onto my computer. She bought the DLC a while back, and I asked her if I can transfer those onto the PC, and she was okay with it. So yeah. I haven't owned a gaming console in 19 years. I have to play a Vods on PC, then buy a Switch. You know, it's funny because, like, the funny thing about it is that, like, my sister has the first Switch, which is the Smash Bros. Edition. That was technically supposed to be mine, but I gave it to her, and the funny thing about it, about that one too, as well, is that, like, she started playing with the Steam Deck instead. It's pretty hilarious. It's pretty funny in my personal opinion. Because I put all my trust on hackers. Well, apparently it's already been hacked already in like under 24 hours. So yeah, it's interesting, you know. But hey, you know what? You guys bought it. You know, you guys bought it. So that's not none of my problem. I said I wasn't gonna buy it, and I'm not even gonna buy it anymore. So I was thinking of buying it from a third party, you know, like from someone else who is selling it, but I'm not even gonna do that because, like, if they can brick your console, I'm just like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I'm fine with that. I'd rather go get me the Switch 1 or the OLED edition and just, you know, just kind of have it there for the what was it? I was gonna get me the Switch OLED for the Ring Fit adventure for stream, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. But yeah, overall, sucks to suck. You guys bought it, so that ain't none of my problem. But as what this guy said, free content at the end of the day. Free content.